أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. We are continuing with our Tafsir of Surah Isra, the 17th Surah of the Holy Quran. And yesterday we did the first two verses. Insha'Allah, we continue from the third verse, wherein Allah Azza wa Jal says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ذرية من حملنا مع نوح إنه كان عبدا شكورا. As we noted yesterday, the first verse of Surah Al-Isra deals with the issue of Mi'raj and how Allah Azza wa Jal took the Holy Prophet for Mi'raj. But the next 7 verses of this surah deal with Bani Israel. And the way Allah Azza wa Jal had prophesied and foretold how the Bani Israel would twice go against the commandments of Allah, twice they would corrupt the earth, and these 2 times they would be punished by Allah Azza wa Jal. And we said it is ironic that if you have already been informed that you will do something and yet you still go and do it. There is a beautiful tradition that says, Al-mu'minu la yaqa' fi hufratin marratain. A believer will not fall in the same hole twice. If he falls in the hole once, he knows now there is a hole here. He will avoid it at all costs. But this is what the Bani Israel did. Now in this third verse, we are told that these Bani Israel were the descendants of Nabi Nuh alayhi salam. And Nabi Nuh alayhi salam is described beautifully in this verse as Abdan Shakura, a servant who was always doing shukr of Allah Azza wa Jal. He was always thankful to Allah Azza wa Jal. And in Majma'ul Bayan, Shaykh al-Tabarsi gives us a narration from our 5th Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, in which he tells us why is it that Nabiullah Nuh was called Abdan Shakura. He said because he used to thank Allah a lot and he had a special dua that he used to recite regularly. And then he teaches us that dua. He says that dua, very short dua, is Allahumma inni ushhiduka annama asbaha aw amsa bi min ni'matin fi dinin aw dunya faminka wahdaka la sharika lak laka alhamdu wa laka ash-shukru biha alayya hatta tarda wa ba'da ar-ridha. A very beautiful short dua that Nabiullah Nuh used to recite all the time. He would say, Oh Allah, I make you the witness that whatever ni'mah has come upon me in the daytime and the nighttime is from you. Wahdaka la sharika lak. Only you, no one partnering with you. Therefore, lakal hamd, to you is all praise, wa laka shukr, and all gratitude be to you. Hatta tarda, until you are pleased with me. Wa ba'da rida, and even after you are pleased with me. Beautiful short dua that Nabiullah Nuh used to recite, and that is how he got the title of Abdan Shakura. Then Allah Azza wa Jal continues in verse number 4. وَقَضَيْنَا إِلَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ فِي الْكِتَابِ لَتُفْسِدُنَّ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَّتَيْنِ وَلَتَعْلُنَّ عُلُوًّا كَبِيرًا. This is where the prophecy is now given to the Bani Israel, that you will twice cause corruption on earth, and twice you will perpetrate tyranny. You will become tyrants on earth, 2 times. And then Allah Azza wa Jal continues, فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ أُولَاهُمَا بَعَثْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ عِبَادًا لَنَا أُولِي بَأْسٍ شَدِيدٍ فَجَاسُوا خِلَالَ الدِّيَارِ وَكَانَ وَعْدًا مَفْعُولًا. Then Allah says, now the first time when you did this, when you did the corruption, what did we do? We aroused against you our servants who possessed great might, and they ransacked your houses, and the promise was fulfilled. Here in Majma' al-Bayan, the word jasa is given as those who go around ransacking and pillaging. You know, when there is war, sometimes when an army enters a city, they go around the houses and they pillage and they ransack and they steal whatever they can find in the houses, and once they've done that, they burn the houses or they destroy the houses. This is the meaning of jaws. So when we are told فَجَاسُوا خِلَالَ الدِّيَارِ, we are told here that once the Bani Israel disobeyed Allah, the punishment was that Allah sent a group of His servants to go and attack the Bani Israel, and their houses were ransacked. This was the punishment for their own corruption. It was a punishment from Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, it is very interesting here that Allama Tabatabai discusses the identity of those servants who went to ransack the houses of Bani Israel. And he asks the question, is it necessary that they were mu'mineen? And he says, no, it is not necessary that they were mu'mineen. Why? Because sometimes Allah Azza wa Jal uses your enemy and his enemy to attack you. That is why in dua sometimes we recite, Allahumma ashghali al-zalimina bil-zalimin waj'alna baynahum salimina ghanimeen. Oh Allah, make the zalim be occupied with another zalim. Let them fight amongst themselves. Let the zalim fight the zalim. وَجْعَلْنَا بَيْنَهُمْ سَالِمِينَ غَانِمِينَ. Let us, the mu'mineen, remain peaceful, salim, ghanim. So Allama Tabatabai says, there is no evidence from this ayah that those who attacked the Bani Israel were mu'mineen. And then in the next verse, ثم رددنا لكم الكرة عليهم وأمددناكم بأموال وبنين وجعلناكم أكثر نفيرا. So now the first prophecy was fulfilled. The Bani Israel had been told, twice you will corrupt this earth and twice my punishment will come upon you. Still they went. The first time they corrupted the earth. Now what did they do exactly? Here the Mufassirin have given so many ihtimalat, possibilities. None of them is as certain. Some of them say, for example, the first corruption they did was killing Nabiullah Zakaria. The second one was killing Nabiullah Yahya, alayhim as-salam. And they give different types of possibilities of what the Bani Israel actually did to deserve this punishment. Suffice it to say they went against the command of Allah Azza wa Jal, and they caused corruption and were tyrants on this earth. So the first time they did that, Allah punished them. But after He punished them, now what happened? Then we gave you back what we had taken from you. We gave it back to you. And we aided you with children and wealth. That means now that their houses had been ransacked, they had been punished for their sins. Again, Allah Azza wa Jal bestowed His blessings upon them. The second time He bestowed His blessings upon them, He gave them back wealth and children. So Allama Tabatabai says that this shows that it was a gradual process. You can't get children in an instant. If you say that now they got many children and their population grew, that means it took many years now to repopulate the Bani Israel. It took many years for them to regain the wealth that was taken away from them. So it is very interesting how when they disobeyed and the punishment came, it came immediately. But when now they have to recover, it takes time. It is a gradual process. When we sin against Allah Azza wa Jal, we are destroying ourselves in an instant. A small sin, it can take you a fraction of a second to sin. But now to rebuild yourself, to reform yourself, to gain back that manzila, that status, that rank that you had in front of Allah will take you a lot of time. This is very important. We need to think about this. And then Allah Azza wa Jal continues and He says, إِنْ أَحْسَنْتُمْ أَحْسَنْتُمْ لِأَنفُسِكُمْ وَإِنْ أَسَأْتُمْ فَلَهَا فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ الْآخِرَةِ لِيَسُوءُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَلِيَدْخُلُوا الْمَسْجِدَ كَمَا دَخَلُوهُ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَلِيُتَبِّرُوا مَا عَلَوْا تَتْبِيرًا. Now, in this 7th verse of the surah, we find that the second time again they sin against Allah Azza wa Jal. So this in a way shows how stubborn the Bani Israel were, how defiant they were. Allah Azza wa Jal told them that you will sin 2 times. You will corrupt the earth 2 times. Both times I will punish you. Maybe we can say that they did not believe it the first time, because it was a prophecy, something that will come in the future. So when they went and did it, they saw that indeed the punishment did come. But now they went and did it again the second time. So that shows the defiance of these people. Allah Azza wa Jal in this verse He says, if you do good, you do it for your own souls. And if you do evil, then you yourself will bear the brunt of it, the consequences of it. So now when the second prophecy was fulfilled, then the enemies now entered the sacred mosque and temple of the Jews. Not only did they ransack their houses, but they ransacked even their mosque, their temple. Of course, here the word is used is masjid, because masjid, the general meaning of masjid is a place of sajda, a place of worship. So what we learn from this ayah, when you look at the tafsir, is that Allama Tabatabai says that the same people who came and attacked the Bani Israel the first time and ransacked their houses were the same ones who came the second time now. These are the same people. That means they got into the same adhab, worse the second time, but through the same means. And then Allah Azza wa Jal says, عَسَى رَبُّكُمْ أَن يَرْحَمَكُمْ وَإِنْ عُدْتُمْ عُدْنَا وَجَعَلْنَا جَهَنَّمَ لِلْكَافِرِينَ حَصِيرًا. Allah Azza wa Jal is so kind and so merciful. He says, even after the second time, if you now come back to me, if you turn back to me, I will still forgive you. Asa, he uses asa meaning perhaps. That means there is still hope for you. O Bani Israel, in your defiance, you came against Allah Azza wa Jal 2 times and He punished you the way He had promised He would punish you. But even after the second time He says, if you come back, in udtum udna, we too will come back to you. We too will. And this shows the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal is so great. Even His staunchest enemies, Allah Azza wa Jal, if they are ready to do tawbah and come back, Allah accepts from them. And then Allah Azza wa Jal continues in verse number 9, He says, إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا. Now the 7 verses about Bani Israel have finished. Now we are coming back to the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jal says this Quran guides towards that which is most upright, aqwam. And it gives good news to the believers that they will be rewarded for their good deeds. All the good deeds we do, and it is not easy to do good deeds. It is easier to sin. It is more pleasurable to sin. It is more enjoyable to sin in this dunya. But to do good is hard, is difficult. You have to force yourself sometimes. That is why there is sabr required when you want to do good. But Allah Azza wa Jal says that the Quran gives glad tidings to those who do good, that they will be rewarded for their good deeds. Now Allama Tabatabai tells us about the word aqwam. Aqwam means most upright. Most upright. It is the superlative. Like when you say Allahu Akbar, the greatest, greater, not just great. Similarly, aqwam means the most upright, or when you compare with anything, more upright than that. And so Allama Tabatabai in this particular verse, when he comments on it, he mentions in passing that this verse shows that Islam is the most upright religion, and there is no other religion that can match Islam. Today we have many people who propagate the idea of religious pluralism. All religions are taking you towards Allah Azza wa Jal. But if we think about it even rationally, logically, what is the shortest distance between 2 points? Point A and point B. You ask any person, regardless of their faith, they will say the shortest distance is a straight line between A and B. You can go through different routes, you might get to B from A. But if there is a straight line, that is the shortest distance. We always recite in our salah, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Oh Allah, guide us on the straight path, on that straight line, directly to you. Allama says, aqwam here means that Islam is the religion that is aqwam. All the other religions are secondary. Even if we do believe that they have been sent by Allah, maybe some of their followers will be given salvation, but they cannot match Islam. This is the 9th verse. And then Allah Azza wa Jal continues. In verse number 10 He says, وَأَنَّ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ أَعْتَدْنَا لَهُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا. As for those who don't believe in the akhirah, we have prepared for them a very painful adhab, a very painful punishment. So, Allama again has a point to make here. He says, why is it that only akhirah is mentioned? Why did Allah not say those who don't believe in Tawheed, we will give them a painful adhab? Why didn't He say those who don't believe in Nubuwah, we will give them a painful adhab? Why does He say those who don't believe in Akhirah, we will give them a painful adhab? And He says it is because a person may believe in Tawheed, and a person may believe in Nubuwah, but the thing that will ensure that the person remains upright in this dunya is his belief in the akhirah. Because he knows that he is going to be held to account somewhere. He is going to be rewarded and punished somewhere. So if a person believes in Tawheed, if we imagine an individual who believes in Tawheed, in Nubuwah, but not in Ma'ad, not in the Akhirah, then that person will not be steady in this world, will have no motivation to do good and to keep away from evil. So Allama says that is why Allah has mentioned the belief in Akhirah. And of course, when we believe in Akhirah, it gives us hope. You look around you in the world today, you see so much dhulm, you see so much injustice. Sometimes it makes you depressed. If you are a mu'min and you see the mu'mineen around the world suffering, you cry, you shed tears, and you feel depressed. Oh Allah, what is this? But when you believe in the Akhirah, you know that all the zalimeen have their day coming. And the day of the zalim is going to be more difficult for him than the day of the mazloom, the riwayah tells us. And so belief in the hereafter gives us hope in our hearts. This dunya for the mu'min is a place of sadness, it's a place of restriction. Ad-dunya sijnul mu'min. The dunya is like a prison cell for the believer. When a believer dies, he is set free from that prison cell. But for the kafir, it is the opposite. It is jannatul kafir. Dunya is the jannah for the kafir. When he leaves it now, he is going to his prison cell. So it is very important for us to understand the importance of the value of belief in Akhirah. Another 2 verses and we finish insha'Allah ta'ala. Allah Azza wa Jal continues in verse 11. He says, وَيَدْعُ الْإِنسَانُ بِالشَّرِّ دُعَاءَهُ بِالْخَيْرِ وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ عَجُولًا. Man prays for ill as much as he prays for good, and he is always over hasty. A very interesting verse. Man prays for bad things, does dua for bad things, just as he does dua for good things. What does it mean here? Obviously nobody will pray for something bad to come to them. It means that he is praying for something that is bad for him, but he does not know. Just as much as he prays for that which is good for him, he prays for that which is bad for him. And human beings are always hasty. They don't think of the consequences. If I get this, what will happen to me? No, they want it, and they want it now, quickly. Oh Allah, give it to me, not tomorrow, but now, immediately. That is the hastiness of the human being. And Ibn Abbas, according to Shaykh al-Tabarsi, has a very interesting statement. He says that human beings lose patience both in times of joy and sorrow. Whether you are happy or you are sad, human beings, they lose patience. When they are very happy, they can't control their happiness. Their patience goes away. They lose control. And when they are very sad, again, they can't control their sadness. Human beings have this nature in them. And finally, verse number 12, Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَجَعَلْنَا اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ آيَتَيْنِ فَمَحَوْنَا آيَةَ اللَّيْلِ وَجَعَلْنَا آيَةَ النَّهَارِ مُبْصِرَةً لِتَبْتَغُوا فَضْلًا مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَلِتَعْلَمُوا عَدَدَ السِّنِينَ وَالْحِسَابَ وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ فَصَّلْنَاهُ تَفْصِيلًا. We made night and day 2 signs. Then we effaced the sign of the night and made the sign of day lightsome, bright, so that you may seek grace from Allah Azza wa Jal. You may seek the fadl from Allah Azza wa Jal, and so that you may know the number of days and months and years. This is very important for us to keep time. It is important for us to have a calendar, to know what is the date that we are in. And so that is one of the benefits of the day and night that Allah Azza wa Jal refers to in this verse. Now, of course, some mufassirin say that Ayat al-Layl and Ayat al-Nahar refer to the moon and the sun, respectively. But Allama Tabatabai rejects this. He says, no. Ayat al-Layl here means the night itself, the Layl itself. And Ayat al-Nahar here means the Nahar itself, the day itself. Why? It says because if Allah is saying that this helps you keep time, then even if the day is without sunshine, if you have a day like today where there are clouds, you cannot see the sun, you cannot see the ayatul nahar, if you say the ayatul nahar is the sun, you can still count the days. If you cannot see the moon, you can still count the nights. And so it is not referring to the sun and the moon, it is referring to the day and the night. And then he says, the fadl that is mentioned here is the rizq that Allah Azza wa Jal gives you. In the daytime, we go out to earn our rizq. And that rizq is fadl and grace from Allah Azza wa Jal. And of course, that does not mean that there is no fadl at night time. There is fadl at night time as well, which is resting. And the reason why Allah did not mention that in this verse, according to both Allama Tabatabai and Shaykh al-Tabarsi, the reason why Allah did not mention the fadl of nighttime is for ikhtisar, for brevity, to keep it short. Why? Because it has already been mentioned in other verses of the Holy Quran. Inshallah, we pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to grant us the ability to keep our connection with the Holy Quran strong and to learn from the beautiful verses of the Holy Quran. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة.